Hey, Rick Houston here. John Candy and Steve Martin and their planes, trains, and automobiles don't have anything on the North Carolina Transportation Museum in Spencer. I talked to Marcus Neubacher recently from the North Carolina Transportation Museum's Foundation about the facility's incredible collection. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Well, first of all, Marcus, tell me about the Transportation Museum. First of all, where is it located?
So we're in Spencer, North Carolina, which is just outside of Salisbury, about halfway between Charlotte and Greensboro, right along
Okay.
I-80.
Okay. All right. Now, how long has it been in existence, and kind of what was the impetus behind it getting started?
So the museum itself was chartered in 1977. It was at that time the property was turned over to the state of North Carolina by the Southern Railway, who had owned the property and used it as a major locomotive repair facility since 1896.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the growth has been, in museum sense, has been since the late 70s and really got things started kind of early in the 80s as things started to develop here.
Now, I love your background with the vintage. I guess those are state trooper cars.
Yes, that's a 1935 Highway Patrol car right there beside me, or behind me, and then the 1978 beside it. The 35 is actually the model that replaced horses by the State Highway Patrol. So literally, it was among the first of the State Highway Patrol vehicles.
Well, after the last couple of days, seeing the state trooper cars make me a little nervous. I had
These are
them.
the guys you run from when you're running moonshine, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had an impromptu meeting with a state trooper the other day.
I'm sure it was friendly,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. It was great, great, great. He even gave me an autograph to remember the
How about that?
occasion by.
Yeah.
Well,
Cost you a little bit for that autograph, I'm sure,
yeah,
but
yes, it did, or it will. Um, in all seriousness, why transportation and why the need for a museum?
so
How important is it to the history of North Carolina?
well, this site specifically was very important. Now, transportation, of course, is a transportation state. We like to say because we have trucking companies that are founded here, like Old Dominion operates out of here, and others, Carolina. Those trucking companies are very important, and then also, of course, the railroads crisscross the state, um, making their way from east coast to west coast, and from the north to the south, and so forth. This particular site was very important in history because it was selected by the Southern Railway to be its major locomotive repair facility, being that it was halfway between Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, Georgia, which were the two endpoints of the major rail line that went through here. And that's an eastern, not east coast, but an eastern route that's very important even today in moving goods, and people across the country, or in the case of goods, through the world. But being where it's located, it was on a very high density area, even back in the late 1800s, high density traffic area where it made the most sense. Plus, being centrally located on their system around that line made it possible for them to bring locomotives in after a, say, 300 and some mile run from Atlanta, bring them in, major work on them that had to be done, whether it was minor or major, and then go back out and complete the run, to Washington. So very important in being a central location. And transportation has just grown up. I mean, Salisbury, Spencer wasn't even in existence before this facility was built. In fact, it was named for the first president of Southern Railway, Samuel Spencer. Before that, it was just part of Salisbury, and it was a field. So very important transportation. Just North Carolina, as we know, we have an interstate system and everything that very busy, holds a lot of traffic, whether it's people or goods, and we just always wanted to focus on that and highlight the importance of that through commerce.
Approximately how many vehicles do you have on display?
Ooh, I don't know that I can answer that honestly. We have a lot of course, we have a lot of rail cars and locomotives because this is primarily was and always has been a rail facility, but we don't focus just on rail. So we have a large collection of automobiles, we have trucks, so we have a few airplanes, including a DC-3. The number of automobiles or vehicles, I mean, I would say, you know, probably less than 100, but we have a good number of vehicles throughout the site in different locations.
When I first contacted you, you said that you were not an expert in any way about moonshine. The location wasn't necessarily moonshine related to moonshine, but if you understand the history of moonshining and bootlegging, you also understand how important the automobile is to that, for lack of a better term, that industry. Can you speak to that about how important the automobile was to bootlegging?
Well, we have in our collection, we have one car that rumored to have been involved, but we can't really prove that to a real degree. But the obviously fast cars were important to get the goods transported. So automobile history is, without those automobiles, without a way to get the product to where it was going, there wouldn't have been, moonshine running and that, if you want to call it industry, or that area. So yeah, the automobile continues, even to this day, to be very important to everything that we do.
Well, here's what you do to verify the history of that car. Jack it up, jack the rear of the car up, and if the springs are regular springs, that means that the car most likely was not a hauling car, a bootlegging car, or else they probably weren't very good at it, or they
Right,
got caught. If the springs are modified, if there's heavy duty springs and additional springs and whatever, then yeah, the chances are it was more than likely used for that purpose.
we'll have to have that checked out. So that might help us out a little bit. So.
Well, as I've always said, even if you find out that it wasn't, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. So
Right,
go
right. Well,
so go ahead and say it was a moonshine.
right. Well, we try to be a museum and accurate, but so we can't really claim that without knowing it for sure. But rumor has it that it may
Rumor
have.
has it. Okay. All right.
Right.
One last question. I would assume that to be involved in the transportation museum there, you have to be a car guy or something pretty close to it.
Mhm.
Are you a car guy? And how did that come about personally?
So I am not a car guy necessarily, but I will say that I'm a train guy. Now,
Okay.
my dad was a plane guy. My uncle was a truck guy, is a truck guy, and my other uncle is a car collector. So I think what is important to know about here is that whether you're a car guy or a train or any of those, they all tie together. There are so many people that come out here for events, and they might like one thing, but they're really fascinated by something else.
Right.
And we do have volunteers here that take care of the equipment. And of course, we have several auto shows a year. So be sure if, I'm not sure when this will air, but if people are interested in that, in August, we have a Ford show, a GM show, a Mopar show. And then in September, there's a Antique Automobile Club of America show that's going on here as well. So there is a lot of car focus here, and so see a lot of neat things, whether it's our own things or things that people bring in for these various shows.
That brings to mind another question. Approximately, you couldn't quite put a finger on how many vehicles you had there, but what is the range of vehicles? How many types of different vehicles do you have?
We have early 1900s cars we have an early electric vehicle. We have a Ford Model R, which preceded the Model T. So everything from that into I think even the 70s and maybe the early 80s, we might have some cars. that are on display or in the collection here.
All right. Well, how many different types? I mean, I see a tractor trailer behind you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Since it was a locomotive repair depot, I would assume that you've got locomotive related items there.
Yes.
How many different types of vehicles do you have?
Oh, types of vehicles. So yeah, just a wide range from operating diesel locomotives to operating and non-operating vehicles, whether it's trucks or passenger cars, regular private cars. We have all of that. We also have a DC-3 airplane on display that's being restored. It's in a restoration phase right now, as well as a couple of smaller airplanes. So it's a big variety. It goes everything from even buggies and wagons we have here. So no matter, I guess, what the type of inland transportation it was, we probably have a representation of it. We're not big on boats here because that's more maritime and all that. We do have some dugout canoes and some smaller boats, but primarily it's the things with wheels or wings that we have here on site. But just a lot of variety. So it's everything from a steam locomotive built in 1903 to diesel locomotives built in the 60s, and then for the autos too, it would be kind of probably about the same range, 60s and 70s maybe being the high end of that.
How how big is the facility? It sounds like it's got to be huge to have that many different uh, pieces.
It is a 60-acre site. We have several
Wow.
historic buildings, including a 90,000 square foot back shop, which is the building where the major repair was done on the steam locomotives. They would bring the locomotives in and lift them up with a crane and actually tear them down and rebuild them and put them back out on the rail. So that building houses some of our trucks. It's the building that currently houses the DC-3 airplane under restoration, and then a number of automobiles as well. Another building, which is the old flue shop, where they maintain the tubes that carried the steam through the steam locomotive boiler. That's what we call our bumper to bumper exhibit, and we have that full of cars at this point. And then the roundhouse, which is another very large building, 37 stall building, still it's the largest one still standing in North America. It was another railroad structure, still used today for repairs of our equipment that is used for our operating trains, but also displays as well. So it's railroad displays primarily in there. We also have the Wright Flyer replica, full size Wright Flyer that's there, and so that occupies pretty much that building. But yeah, there's several buildings here, and more to come that are part of what we have here at the museum.
All right, so we got the transportation side of the story covered. We got the moonshine part of the story covered. I'm going to bring it back around and talk about motorsports for just a second. In scheduling this interview, we kind of had to work around a couple of different dates, including you said that your nephew races a Legends car at
That's right.
Charlotte Motor Speedway every
That's
Tuesday
right.
night.
He does. So he started as a quarter midget driver here in Salisbury. There's the North Carolina Quarter Midget Association has a track here, another tie to motorsports. And once he was old enough to retire out of quarter midgets, now he's started in Legends cars, and he's run 2 weeks so far, 3 weeks, I guess. And on his third race, he actually won the race. So
Oh wow.
it was pretty cool. So it's pretty neat.
Uh, I know that there are different. I think that there are different levels of Legends competition
There are.
concerning experience.
Mhm.
What level is he at right now?
So he came into what's called, I think it's called the Charger series, which is a beginner series. So there are people, and the thing is that it's varying ages because you can be a beginner and still, I guess, be a bit older. He just turned 18, and so that's what he started in. And once he gets, I think they said that he has to win, or after he wins 3 races, then he has to move up to the semi-pro level, which is the next level that he would go into. So yeah, there's they when they race on these Tuesday nights during the summer shootout, it's really cool. It's what is it, about 4 hours worth of racing, and it's nonstop. They keep it rolling.
Now, what is his name?
His name is Benjamin Rogers.
Benjamin Rogers. Okay.
Hmm.
If he's 18 and he's racing, there's a good chance that we may see him on into the future if
Well, let's hope
that's
so.
the direction that
Definitely
he
hope
wants
so.
to take. So yeah, if he's 18, he may be racing he may be racing NASCAR Cup
Right.
next year.
Well, it's interesting. He races out there, and he was practicing out there recently. And you do get the NASCAR drivers that actually run those as well. And so there's an app that they have where they're showing their practice times and all. And you go down through the list, and you see Darrell Wallace on there. So Bubba Wallace being one that was
Oh, wow.
racing on a particular day, and the same is true about when he was doing the quarter midgets. A lot of the drivers that are active today, their kids are racing quarter midgets, and they got their started in that, and they're starting that. So Rowan County really has a really good tie between the track there at the North Carolina Quarter Midget Association, and then you've probably heard of Millbridge Speedway, which is another
Right.
place where they race sprint cars and all of those. You see NASCAR drivers out there all the time. So I feel like if you're looking to come to on this trail, if you're checking out different locations on the motorsports trail, realize that Rowan County, where we are, is big in motorsports, and so definitely, hopefully stop by and see what we have to offer here. Even if it's not totally tied to motorsports, we do have cars, we have fast cars, and lots of history.
All right, good deal. Anything else that you'd like to get across?
I would just love to have people always visiting. We do a lot of special events here. The museum very much is dependent on visitation, so we definitely want people to come through the door. We're always coming up with new ideas to have new events. We just finished a fire truck festival, which is very popular every year. We do these car shows. We do lots of family events like the Polar Express and Day Out with Thomas, and those kinds of things that we're really well known for. But just know that everybody that comes through the door here at the North Carolina Transportation Museum, we love to have them here, and we welcome them to be here, and we hope you'll come and enjoy us along the way as you're making your way through the state on your travels.
Awesome. Good deal. All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
If you have been to the North Carolina Transportation Museum, what was your favorite vehicle or exhibit there? If you haven't been, what would you like to see? Let us know in the comments below.